Yo, what's up, YouTube? Brian Van Dyne here. For those of you that don't know me, I've been in the dump truck business for 5 years now, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about commercial truck insurance. And this is a subject that not a lot of people want to talk about it. It's just one of those things that just kind of sucks, and we just kind of got to deal with it. There's a big reason the insurance industry is. I don't want to get all negative on you guys about this, but commercial insurance sucks, and it's very expensive. And my first year as a business owner, I ended up going through, I think it was Farmers Insurance, and they quoted me $10,000 for the full year, and that was for like $1 million worth of coverage. And then I ended up having to pay them $100 for every additional insured, that I had to get. Like if a business wanted me to be additional insured, then I have to pay an extra $100, and that got expensive real quick. And I ended up talking to one of my buddies who had a dump truck, and he's like, "Oh, you got to go through this broker. He's way cheaper," And it ended up being $6,000 for the full year. So I ended up getting a little bit of premium return because I switched insurance companies halfway through the year, and then that was $6,000 for the full year. And they didn't charge me anything for additional insurers, right? Then the second year in business, second year, it was like $7,000. No, maybe it was $5,000 for the second year. And then on my third year in business, that's when I bought this brand new 2020 Super Dump. And then the insurance went up to $16,000 for the full year for two trucks, my solo dump truck and my super dump truck. And and this is all intrastate, meaning I didn't go out of state. I stayed within my 100-mile radius. I have a clean driving record, and and then my third year in business, no, that was the third year. Fourth year in business that I had to renew my insurance, and it jumped up to $20,000, and that was with 3 dump trucks, 2 excavators, and I had some general liability insurance, with my contractor's license. I had some bonds, some insurance bonds for my contractor's license, and a couple million, and I had a couple $1 million umbrella policy. It was like 20 grand for the full year. And the first year you're in business, they wanted me to pay either the full amount up front for the full year. Luckily enough, I was easy to get them. I was easy enough to convince them to let me just do 6 months at a time. But there was no way they were going to let me pay month to month, which that's a lot of money to put out when you're just starting a business. Like, oh, here's $10,000, I haven't earned a single dime, so let me just give you $10,000 and let me come over here and start making some pennies, So that was really tough, first starting my business. And a lot of people don't think about insurance as being one of the biggest expenses, but it really is one of the biggest expenses when you run a business, a commercial business. And, having been in business for 5 years, I've learned something about insurance agents and insurance companies that provide commercial insurance. And I don't like to talk bad about different businesses and stuff, but insurance companies, they will rape you if they get the chance. They will take every dime you have if they get the chance. They are slimy, sleazy. You know, they will take all your money if they can. And you know, I've heard of instances where insurance companies have called companies up and said, "Hey, we just found out you've been doing all this type of work. You're underinsured. We're gonna have to charge you for this, you know, to make up for it." And you know, they just overcharge you for everything. They upsell everything, and then if you try and do an insurance claim, they will either weasel their way out of paying for it, or they will grape you so hard if you go through with the claim. They will grape you, right? That's just the way it goes. Some words I can't say on YouTube. They'll start blacklisting my videos, right? So let me just put it like that. So my insurance is up at the end of the month, the 23rd, I believe, or something like that. And as you guys know, I sold a lot of my stuff, and I have just this dump truck, the new 2020 Peterbilt. Sold the other 2 dump trucks, sold the big excavator and the trailers. And, you know, I got my renewal notice in the mail, and they wanted to charge me $16,000 for the full year for one dump truck. And I'm just like, this is just completely outrageous. This is something that I have to pay, and I'm never going to see any of this money again, you know? And insurance companies, what they do is they think they know all this information. They have somebody look up, you know, your social media, your website, your Google. Like, they do their due diligence when they go to insure you. If you don't think that they're looking you up and searching you up and down, you're mistaken, my friend. You know, I have my website, right, that says I do demolition and all these other services that I have. And so because my insurance quote was $18,000, I'm like, screw that. I'm not paying that much for a full year for one dump truck. That is outrageous. That's a complete ripoff. I'm going to shop around, right, and, you know, find some different insurance, right? And so I called like 4 different brokers, right? And I gave them all the same exact information. One truck valued $275,000, within a 100-mile radius, running out of Shelton. All I haul is dirt, rock, sand, and gravel, right? That's it, aggregate. And gave them all the same exact information. And it's very interesting, right? Every single broker came back at me with a different price. And they all quoted me from the same insurance companies, right? So you think, a lot of you guys think if you call one broker, you're getting the best deal because they shop around. Like, that's how they advertise to you. They say, oh, we'll shop around and get you the best price. They don't shop around. They are lazy. And what they'll do is they think, okay, this guy's truck is worth this much money. We're going to try and get this much money out of them for the year. And insurance companies know that nobody ever does, most people will not make claims because they know if they make a claim, they're going to get raped on insurance the next year. They know that the rates will go up, right? Every insurance agent knows this, right? If you make a claim, we're jacking up your insurance. That's the way it goes. And so they all know that. So they think, okay, let's see how much money we can get out of this guy. So I called around 3 insurance brokers, 3 different prices. One quoted me $12,000 for the full year for one dump truck. One quoted me $9,600, and then the third truck quoted me $7,000 for the full year with one truck, right? And then check this out. This is how slimy insurance agents are. This is how they operate business. So, like 2 weeks later, I hadn't paid any of them yet because I was still calling around to get more quotes, right? One of them called me back and they said, hey, we had a quote. We gave you a quote for $7,000. We have to change that quote because it turns out you had called around through some other brokers and you gave them some different information, which I know I didn't. I gave them all the same information. And he's like, well, we have to change the quote. And it was the guy that quoted me $7,000. He's like, oh, I'm charging way under this other company. I got to bump it up. And so then he bumps it up to $10,000. The other company called me back and said, oh, we got to bump this up to 10 grand. Because the insurance company did some digging and they said, oh, well, your website says you're at $1,000. And I said, well, yeah, my website hasn't been updated, but I moved to Shelton a long time ago. My Google says Shelton. I just haven't updated my website, because I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. I service all the same areas. Nothing changed except for, I just parked my truck in Shelton instead of Graham, and then they're like, well, you also do all these other services that you didn't really mention. And I said, well, just because I list those services doesn't mean I'm the one doing them. I have a general contractor license, so I contract all those other jobs out. Like I don't need to haul demolition debris. I can contract that out. So you don't need to write that into my insurance because I'm having other people do that work for me, right? And so then I caught them on their little tricky game that they were trying to play me on. And inbound Camp 1. And I called the guy on it, and I wrote him in the email. I said, dude, what you guys are doing is slimy, and you're trying to rip me off. I said, here's the thing. I don't haul any of that stuff. I contract it out. So I don't need to have insurance for that thing. If I'm contracting that out, the people that I'm contracting have to have that insurance, not me, And he's like, oh, yeah, well, and I said, just quote me for what I asked you for. And so these companies, these insurance companies, they will try and highball you. They'll try and upsell you on all this different stuff. Just be aware of it. And then what they'll do is if you do shop around yourself, like a smart business owner, and you don't just call one broker, if you call multiple, they will talk amongst themselves and say, hey, man, I'm charging them this. You got to charge them this, or else, we're just kind of lowballing each other. They'll talk amongst themselves. Don't think they won't do that. They are out there to get all your money. They're out there to take advantage of you as a business owner. You have to realize as a new business owner, every single dollar you make, somebody's out there trying to take it from you. And, if you're not watching that type of stuff, you will get taken advantage of. It's another thing. I'll never forget. As soon as I got my DOT number, 20 million companies started calling me up. Oh, you got to be DOT compliant with this, DOT compliant with that, this, that, and another. And all these fake companies were trying to call me up and trying to get me to do nonsense through their business. They just wanted to take my money. It's just a money grab, right? So you have to realize as the business owner, a lot of people are out there he's got an expensive truck. Let me grab some of that money. He won't notice it. And then next thing you know, at the end of the month, you got nothing left over because all these people have been grabbing your money for no reason at all. Now, some companies do provide like a real service. On the occasion that you do have an insurance claim and they can't weasel their way out of it, insurance pays for itself. But 99% of the time, commercial insurance is a scam, right? They're just out there to take your money. That's just what it is. It's a money grab. And, that's just something you're going to have to live with. Just be smart about when you get insurance and know that these guys are not your friends. None of them are your friends, right? They will play buddy-buddy with you until you write that check. And then guess what? You're at the back of the line. They're trying to get money from somebody else. Inbound Corey Gate. So I'm here to tell you, as a veteran business owner, insurance companies, they want to be your buddy. When they get that money, that's the way they operate. They want to be your friend, and when you give them that money, then they're your friend. As soon as you try and get a better deal, they're not your friend anymore. So don't think your insurance agent is your buddy, because he's not. He's out there to take your money, and you need to be aware of that as a business owner, right? So just make sure you call around to different brokers, because if you don't, you will get taken advantage of. That's the way this world operates that we live in. And in the commercial industry, it is cutthroat. They will cut your throat. They don't care about you. They don't care if you stay in business, because if you get out of business, somebody else is in line to get in business, and they'll be offering them the same service. I have heard of a couple instances where insurance companies actually came through and they paid out, some money to some people that had insurance claims, and it worked out for them in business. When my International had that dash fire, it ended up being a very small claim. It probably would have cost like $5,000. Not even half of what I was paying them at the time. Not even a quarter of what I was paying them. And they still was like, oh, we can't, that's not in your insurance. Well, baloney. I know it was written into insurance, like, stuff like that happens. The insurance company should be covering that. A dash fire, you can't prevent any of that from happening. That's like, you can't prevent that. Insurance companies got to cover that. But they weaseled out of it, and since it was just $5,000 to have the repair done, I just paid it. I'm like, you know what, I'll just cover this myself, because I know if I try and force them to pay it, they would have paid it, right? If I forced them to. But then my rate would have went up, right? That's just the way it goes. And a lot of times, as a business owner, you're thinking, well, I pay all this insurance, they should at least cover these stupid claims, but they will. If you really want them to, they will. But your rate will go up. I guarantee it. They say, oh, your rate's not going to go up for a year. But when it's time to renew, it's going to go up, I guarantee you. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, all the insurance companies across the board are raising rates. It's not just us. And then all these insurance companies, they share information about you, right? So then when you go to the next insurance agent, they already know all the same stuff that the old one does, because they ask you, here's what they do. They ask you, well, who were you insured through last time? Who was your last insurance? They'll call them up and they'll say, hey, I got Van Dyne on the line, I got Justin on the line, whoever on the line, and they'll say, hey, how was he? Well, he did this or he did that. We were charging him this, so you charge him this or whatever. They talk. They're buddies. Insurance agents are buddies. It's like, it's a money racket, right? That's just the way it works. So just keep that in mind. Don't forget to pound that like button and pound that subscribe button. As always, check out the playlist for all the great content. We got frequently asked questions playlist on the channel. So if you click on the icon with my face on it, go to the channel, go to the community or the playlist tab, check it out. We got tons of playlists. You can join the membership for under $1 a month, and we got some members only content. We're working on more, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.